Attention passionate Atlanta, Falcons fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the NFC South and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Atlanta Falcons' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Atlanta Falcons fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your FRINDS and Atlanta, FALCONS FANS. Let's get to the news now, folks. If you've been paying attention to the NFL landscape lately, you know that the offseason is never just quiet. No, it's a whirlwind of rumors, trades, and strategic moves that can reshape the entire division. And this year, it feels like we're on the verge of something monumental in the NFC South, specifically, involving the Atlanta Falcons. It's not just about drafting, free agency, or signing a big-name player. We're talking potential blockbuster trades that could turn the tide for Atlanta, making them not just playoff contenders, but serious Super Bowl threats in the upcoming seasons. And one name that's been floating around and causing quite a stir is TJ Watt. Yes, TJ Watt, the star pass rusher from the Pittsburgh Steelers. The guy has been a dominant force for years, a perennial Pro Bowler, and one of the most feared edge rushers in the league. But recent social media signals and whispers in NFL circles suggest that Watt might be on the move, and that's what has fans like us buzzing. Now, I want to set the stage here. A lot of NFL insiders have been speculating about what this could mean, and there's one thing that's clear. If Watt leaves Pittsburgh, it could trigger a domino effect that impacts multiple teams, including our beloved Falcons. And folks, you might wonder, why Atlanta? Well, for years, the Falcons have been trying to rebuild their pass rush. Remember last season, Arnold Ebiketie led the team with only 6 sacks. That's, honestly, not enough for a team that wants to compete at the highest levels. They've been missing that game-changing edge rusher to put pressure on opposing quarterbacks week in and week out. With the NFL becoming more pass-heavy, having a true threat on the outside isn't just a luxury anymore, it's a necessity. Now let's look at the numbers because they tell a compelling story. TJ Watt in 2024 recorded 11.5 sacks, which is still impressive, especially considering the wear and tear of a long season. But what really stands out is his consistency. Over his career, he's averaged nearly 14 sacks per season, a testament to his elite talent. And just a year before, in 2023, he had an eye-popping 19 sacks. That kind of production is rare and invaluable. For Atlanta, adding Watt would be like injecting prime adrenaline into their defense, something they desperately need to elevate their overall game. And let's not forget, the Falcons' defense was average at best last season, and that's being generous. They ranked near the bottom in sacks, pressures, and overall pass rush efficiency. This has been a recurring theme for years. Atlanta has lacked that relentless edge rusher who can change the game with a single play. The coaching staff and front office have been looking for that disruptive force, and Watt might be the missing piece. Imagine a defense where Watt lines up next to Grady Jarrett, creating a nightmare for offensive lines in the NFC South. The combined power and speed of those two could elevate the entire unit. Opposing quarterbacks would have to think twice before dropping back, knowing that Watt is lurking. That kind of fear factor can't be measured just by sacks. It opens up opportunities for other players, for turnovers, and for the entire team to feed off that energy. But of course, the big question is this realistic? Would the Falcons be willing to part with draft assets, or could they work out a trade that makes sense for both sides? Well, trading for a player like Watt isn't simple, especially considering his contract and the value he'd bring. But the NFL is all about strategic moves, and if the Falcons see Watt as the perfect piece to push them over the top, they might be willing to make a bold move. Now, looking back at recent NFL trade trends, teams have been willing to part with significant draft capital for established stars. Remember when the Eagles traded for a top-tier pass rusher last year? They paid a hefty price, but it paid off in their Super Bowl run. For Atlanta, the question is whether they have enough draft capital and cap space to pull off something similar. Given their recent drafts and cap situation, it's not impossible. The Falcons have been building with a mix of young talent and veteran leadership, and adding a player like Watt could be the catalyst for a serious playoff push. And speaking of quarterbacks, the Falcons are in a very interesting position. They recently acquired Michael Penix Jr., a talented young quarterback who has shown flashes of greatness in college and is trending toward being a franchise-caliber player. With Penix leading the offense and Watt bolstering the defense, Atlanta could become a balanced and dangerous team. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, but what about the Steelers? Isn't Watt too valuable to trade? Well, that's where the storyline gets even more intriguing. The Steelers, as we all know, have been in a bit of a rebuild mode. Despite having some talented players, they haven't been able to find consistent success, especially in the playoffs. They've been stuck in that middle ground, winning around 8 to 10 games per season, but never quite making the deep postseason push they desire. And honestly, the Steelers' quarterback situation has been a concern. Even with Aaron Rodgers possibly joining the team, they still lack that elite offensive weapon that can take them to another level. So, a trade involving Watt might be the best way for Pittsburgh to reset and rebuild. They could potentially get a high draft pick, maybe a second-rounder plus some additional assets, and start focusing on shaping a new core of players. But let's be real, Watt's value is still immense. He's only 30 years old, which in NFL terms is still prime for an edge rusher. His contract is also a factor. He's set to hit free agency in 2026, which makes him a hot commodity. If the Steelers wait too long, they risk losing him for nothing or getting less in return. That's why many insiders believe that a trade could happen sooner rather than later, perhaps within the next few weeks or months. Now, I know some Steelers fans might be feeling a bit emotional about this. Watt has been a staple of their defense for 8 years. He's been loyal, consistent, and a true team player. But sometimes, in the NFL, loyalty has to take a backseat to strategic rebuilds. The Steelers are at a crossroads, and trading Watt might be the first step in a new era for them. So, what does this mean for Atlanta? Well, it's simple. If they manage to land Watt, it could be a game changer. It would send a clear message that they're serious about contending. They could pair him with their young and promising linebacker core, add more veteran presence, and finally get that pass rush that has eluded them for years. Plus, with a stronger defense and an improved offense led by Penix, the Falcons could be a dark horse in the NFC, challenging the dominance of teams like the Eagles, 49ers, and Cowboys. Of course, everything hinges on the trade negotiations, the cap space, and whether the Steelers are willing to part with Watt. But the potential is there, and the timing couldn't be better. The NFC South is wide open after a somewhat disappointing season from the Saints, Panthers, and even the Buccaneers. Atlanta has a real shot to leapfrog their rivals if they make the right moves this offseason, and landing a superstar pass rusher like Watt could be the move that sets them apart. And for us fans, it's exciting to think about the possibilities. We've watched this team grow, seen flashes of greatness, but now we're craving consistency, dominance, and a true shot at the big prize, the Super Bowl. With the right additions, strategic trades, and a bit of luck, Atlanta could be on the verge of something special. Pause here just for a second. If you want the YouTube algorithm to keep recommending the latest Atlanta Falcons news to you, it's super important that you leave a like on this video. Go ahead, it's quick and it makes a big difference. Thank you. Now let us continue with the big reveal. So in summary, while nothing is set in stone yet, the buzz is real. The NFL offseason is about to get even more exciting, and the Falcons are right in the thick of it. Whether it's through strategic draft picks, free agency, or bold trades like bringing in TJ Watt, Atlanta is positioning itself to be a serious contender. The question now is, are they willing to make the big move? And if they do, how will it reshape the NFC South? We'll be watching closely because every sign points to a new chapter for the Falcons, one that could finally bring them back to the top, back to the Super Bowl, and back to glory. And now, Atlanta Falcons fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Atlanta Falcons. Do you think a trade for Watt makes sense? Would you be willing to see some draft capital go out the door if it means winning more games and making a deep playoff run? Let us know. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Atlanta Falcons news. This offseason is shaping up to be one of the most exciting in recent memory, and you don't want to miss it. Thanks for watching, and as always, keep the passion alive for our Falcons. We're heading into a new era, and it's going to be incredible.